Joining me right now is civil rights attorney Ben Crump, and tonight he is representing the family of 52-year-old Angela Carr, just one of three innocent people who died over the weekend. Ben, first question to you, are you getting tired of having to represent all of these families for a problem that no one seems to be willing to solve?
I'm very tired, Dale. It is heartbreaking that on the very day Martin Luther King delivered the I Have a Dream speech 60 years ago, that we would be holding a 4-year-old little girl, having to explain to her how people are still not being judged by the content of their character, but being killed because of the color of their skin.
Ben, how is the Carr family doing tonight?
Well, obviously they're overwhelmed with grief. They can't believe that this happened to their mother. She had 3 children. She had 14 grandchildren. Also, we represent Jaisha, the Gallion, the daughter of Jarrald Gallion, who was the young man who was also killed by this young white supremacist. And their family is struggling. All these families are struggling. The community is struggling. And the question is, Dale, how many more before our leaders finally will take steps to lead and quit condoning white supremacy and start to pass common sense gun legislation that says if you have mental health issues, you should not be able to get a gun, especially not an assault weapon.
Ben, we are way past the point of polite. If you say that leaders condone white supremacy, who?
Well, obviously, you hear a lot of the conservative leadership here in the state of Florida talking about they're going to get rid of teaching of advanced placement African American history, saying that it has little to no value, saying we're going to get rid of everything with diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, saying that slavery, Dale, had positive benefits for our ancestors. So if that's not a dog whistle to white supremacy, I don't know what is. And literally, the blood is on every person's hands who condones this white supremacy versus condemning it. It's the same thing that happened with those 4 little girls who were killed after they bombed the church. You cannot condone white supremacy. You have to condemn it.
Ben, Tim Scott of South Carolina worked with Cory Booker of New Jersey trying to do something in criminal justice reform. He was vocal on this. He's now running for president. Have you heard from anybody on either side of the aisle, Democratic or Republican, calling you up and saying, we have to fix this problem?
We have not. The White House has called over and over again to try to encourage the Congress to send them a bill that would finally address, the police excessive use of force against people of color and marginalized Americans. But it seems to be a political stalemate. The politicians continue to put politics over people, and we have to look at tragedies like this that happened in Jacksonville over the weekend. And there, you may remember earlier this year in Buffalo, New York, at Tops Supermarket, you had another young white supremacist who, very similar to this tragedy, traveled a distance to find an enclave of black people to kill them.
So, Ben, before I let you go, I got 30 seconds left, but I want to put the gauntlet down to you. You are one of the most successful civil rights attorneys in a generation. You're a Thurgood Marshall now, 60 years later. What is it about the Second Amendment that stops even you from suing the makers of these deadly weapons? And is there something legally that you can do in a courtroom to stop what we saw happen in a supermarket in Jacksonville.
We have to be able to sue them, and the politicians have to quit kowtowing to the gun lobby and allow them to be sued and held accountable for all these mass murderers. Without these assault weapons, Dale, you would not see nearly the carnage that is caused by this racial hatred. So everybody has to do something. I include myself, Dale, the media. We all have to do this. How many more children have to lose their fathers and mothers to this gun violence because of racism?
And I think you're right. I think that even journalists like myself have to start naming names and asking people to be accountable. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump. Ben, as always, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Dale.